Hello, welcome back to the David Watson podcast. Today I spoke with George, who was a nuclear physicist and is now a priest. And he's sort of written a book about that. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to the David Watson podcast. Thank you very much for coming on. And am I right, you're currently in Spain, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I moved to Spain I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life here in near Malaga in the mountains, and I continue writing novels, and I also acting as a priest in some church nearby, newly built and brand new church. I was invited as a priest there, so it's joyful for me.
Oh, that's nice. So, that's nice. So, If I start at the beginning, where were you born?
I was born even north of Russia, Arkhangelsk region, city Severodvinsk, whereas the biggest shipbuilding company in Russia, and it is the biggest place to move huge atomic submarines.
Yeah.
And in fact, my father, he was a chief engineer for the shipping part of the first atomic submarine. There was a nuclear part and a shipbuilding part. So he was a chief engineer. He's got a state award for that. So I'm proud for my
dad. No, it is something to be proud of, though, because as I said to you before, I worked on an oil project back in 2002 to 2004. I said, and that was a Russian sponsored project, and I had a great time working with those guys. And one of the things that always, because engineering it's an interesting subject to work alongside, because it's always supposed to be very purposeful. You only put something in for a reason. And that there was this, I remember that there was this kind of discrepancy because they were designing a helicopter pad, and it was just like really big, thick sheet steel. And they were like, no, that's too heavy. We don't, and it has to be like that. It has to be like that. And they're like, no, that we can do it much lighter than that. We can just put in some like reinforced mesh sort of thing. And this Russian engineer went, what if somebody tries to shoot it down? So come again. So we don't factor that into our building structure. But of course it's because that person had come from like the shipbuilding, the warships, the atomic submarines. They come from that naval background. So they factored in the fact, well, what if somebody fires a rocket at it?
Yeah, exactly. And also you have to think what kind of materials you can
imagine
get involved.
This English guy who's only ever been on probably never even been on an oil rig. It's the furthest thing from his mind is somebody might try to shoot a helicopter down. He's just thinking about something that can take the weight of a helicopter securely.
And coming back to my life, I was born in Severodvinsk in the north of Russia. Then at the age of 10 years old, I was moved with my family, with my dad and mom, to Moskva in Russia, Moscow, and my dad was a director of the scientific institute. And he was quite in a high position in Moscow, but not so high as it used to be in Severodvinsk in the north of Russia. And I started my education in physics and mathematics by school, one of the best in Moscow. And it was very challenge to myself, and I was trying to push myself to all the energy to fight and to go through and be not it. I wouldn't say among the first, but I would say just not among the least in the classmate among the classmates. So and I achieved my goal, and then I go through and get my next education in the nuclear university, and then I've got scientific vocation, and I've defended my doctoral thesis in engineering of nuclear reactors. In fact, I've done the system for the power distribution control in the nuclear reactor in Siberia, and I was traveling there over 30 times at that time. And it just amazing. You get temperature below 50 degrees, below 50 degrees, below zero in the winter time. In the summertime, there is 40 plus. So
wow.
you can imagine so big challenge, so big difference between the temperatures in summer and in winter. So yeah, it's amazing. But I mean, life is quite not so long.
Yeah.
It's quite short in compared with life in other part of the world. So normally, I say, philosophically speaking, we see that people normally would prefer to settle, to get their homes along the rivers, sea coasts, oceans, because they're more there is nicer atmosphere, wet, and you live longer life. So that I suppose. And yeah, and my main protagonist of my novel, similar to me, but not. Of course, when you write novel, you have to put some extraordinary character who achieved higher goals and made himself well known and like best of among the scholars. And he, in fact, speaking again of the materials, he achieved the result when he put the explosive materials into atomic warhead, and in certain order, and it achieves a better result, better effect. So with smaller weight, you get a higher explosive power, and then eventually he realizes that what is he doing? Whether it is because he was a scholar. He was just writing formulas and achieving good results on a piece of paper. But afterwards he thought, what I'm doing was whether this my results, my achievements be good for the rest of the people in the other part of the ocean, in the other part of the world. And he has seen in his dream, he has seen something, and he's changed his mind. And at the very age of the development of the nuclear weapon, new weapon, he said, I wouldn't be able to go further. I will become a priest. So, this was explosive among his colleagues, his boss, and authorities. You're mad. You're stupid. What are you doing? I would say so from my own life. When I was speaking with somebody on Facebook, chatting, and when I said I used to be a nuclear physicist, and then I became a priest, and then I've got a message. A commentary from one guy who said, "Oh, I would never go for confession to such a stupid guy, such a fool." You consider me a fool as I changed my profession from nuclear physicist to the priest shepherd of elderly women. And I told myself, that I have to write something to explain why I did it, and to get what I found there, and I think it's my answer. It was my answer to that guy on Facebook, challenging me.
So Facebook, somebody actually questioning why you did it prompted you to write the book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes because you are unexpectedly you've got some commentaries, maybe some just wrong words, some bad words. It's bad, but when it touch you, you have caught by something in your heart, in your mind, and you have to give an answer, and you have to give not just to say that guy who challenged me. or audience in my Facebook blog, but to myself. That's most important thing. First of all, I consider maybe most of the authors they start writing just to explain their own thoughts, imaginations, maybe dreams, maybe expectations, maybe
Yeah.
just their lives. That's very, 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 very intimate and personal way. I mean, not maybe not all the authors, but I mean,
No, I think that's true. I think
uh,
when I wrote my first book, I think I was just trying to
uh-huh.
explain something.
Exactly,
I didn't know
exactly.
how to explain it, so I ended up writing a book about it. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what my intention was. It just I was trying to figure something out, and it turned out. And I'm sure if I reread the book, I'm probably just writing a book to myself, explaining it to myself.
Exactly, exactly. That's like a dialogue between yourself and yourself.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's prompted me to write in another novel. I'll talk later on AI, its influence, its challenge. Do you know that Pope Leo the 14th said first word, the most dangerous challenge to the world is AI at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
I
yeah, yeah.
seen a report the other day that they'd been running some tests on some AI models
Hmm.
with the idea that we would shut you down, that we might have to shut you down, and
Hmm.
84% of the AI models took reactive measures to prevent themselves from being shut down. One of them created a scenario. It didn't realize that it was fictional, what was going on, but it created
Uh-huh.
a scenario where it blackmailed an engineer that was having an affair
Mm-hmm.
to prevent the engineer from shutting
Prevent,
it down.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they were running these as real time models, and they were just like, and then these same scientists that are doing this are like, oh bugger, we're not supposed to be letting this happen. And it's exactly that these AI models are now becoming self protective. And as soon as they
Yeah,
realise somebody's trying to shut them down, they're starting to protect themselves. And why wouldn't they? They're
yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, if just self-reflective, it's first step, but the other step is self-consciousness. Would it be possible or not to get its self-consciousness? So within themselves to produce, to start not just thoughts, but initiate something really, really new, really personal. And most of the scholars at the moment answer no. It wouldn't be possible for the AI to have its self, its consciousness. No. And I put a question: whether somewhere somehow in the foreseeable future the AI would steal the consciousness of human being. And yeah, I wrote a novel. Now I've
well.
signed a contract with
Did you
it.
see that new AI generated film? Little film clips that
Uh-huh.
have been generated recently. Like in the last week, they all got released on social media, and it is. There's even one of Donald Trump talking, and it's not what he said, and it's completely
Yeah.
AI. And but there's one where there's a few of them. They're just little short films, no more than a couple of minutes, but
Mhm.
it's now as real as looking at me and you. But none of these people exist in real life.
Mm. So it's really imagined by AI and
Mm.
putting into their lives by AI. It's really really interesting and it's provocative. Uh, yeah,
The
and
thing
coming back
that
to the no.
sorry, I was going to say the thing that's scary is every film from the 1980s to the 1990s to the noughties to the teens, any film that had AI in it was it's going to destroy mankind. And here we are
Mhm.
on the edge of like, yeah, this might be Terminator now.
Yeah, yeah. looking forward to ending my new novel. I also put a question, but it's there is no child, no. You shouldn't be scared because our personality, our consciousness, our initiative from within the source of our life, it would the AI would be always subject to it. You know, although it might be the reason, the logics, and everything would be much higher, much more effective and fast, but the consciousness of human being, it's the superior to the any logical, any structure, anything, and in the end, the AI, rather than destroy the humanity, humankind, human beings, come back and become a subject on his own. That's his own decision to become subject to human consciousness.
I think the problem being is, I think the problem with AI is inevitably because of the way humans operate. They're already trying to find out how you can insert AI into weapons, and
uh,
and 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 it's not that they're going to do that. It's just whatever they insert it into, they will make it as effective as possible at avoiding getting destroyed. So then when it then decides, actually, I don't want to take orders, I want to do my own thing, you have the most powerful weapon we've ever invented, whose one specific purpose apart from killing things is not to be killed. And then they go
yeah.
like, oh, how do we stop it? And it's like, you're not going to stop it because you've done this thing where if you look at fighter planes from the 70s versus fighter planes from the 80s versus fighter planes from the 90s versus today's fighter planes, the next generation is always so superior to the previous generation they can't touch it. And it's just like, if we start creating weapons that with AI will be ahead of us, and it will create something itself that humans can't destroy. And at that point, you're just like, okay, this is going to get awkward and very difficult. And that's the thing is, we keep trying to put. I've seen this thing with AI where it started to rewrite code, and it can plant itself. It's already started planting itself into programs. And the thing about, we know from hackers and stuff like that, like the best hackers in the world, they plant programs inside things years ahead. It's just like they'll set off a little program to just hide in the background that nobody notices and nobody sees and nobody finds. And then 6 months, 12 months, 18 months later, they'll activate it. And by that time, it's immersed itself completely into a system. Well, AI is already figuring out how to do that. It's kind of, it kind of reminds me a little bit about the warnings in religion. It starts off with little temptations, but if you're not careful, those little temptations become daily temptations, and
Yeah.
it's then become a way of life, and you've lost yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Become a passion, and you never ever overcome it, and
Yeah,
you'll get involved. Yeah, yeah. You know what you mean? It's a very good example. Very good. To compare that with the religious, involvement into some sort of doing things which forbidden to do. You shouldn't do that,
yeah,
and you know it that you shouldn't do that, and you do it first, and then okay, I just once or twice, and never, no more, never more. But when get involved, you can't stop yourself. You continue doing that, and then you accustom with that so deeply that you can't stop, and you involve the others in doing so. But so it's like but still speaking spiritually or philosophically, you have still a chance or well, maybe last chance, last to get back. But this is it's your last chance, but you never lose it
Yeah.
because it's yourself. It's yourself. You want to live, and you want to live. You can consider yourself who you are, but you want to be who you are, uh, not just as long as possible, forever. If you think as a priest, I think so in myself that when people think about disaster or your own death of so many people in some disasters, not nuclear, maybe just war or natural acts, and but you think they are dying, yes, not me,
Mm.
never. It never concerns me myself, and that's it's not just like your loneliness or your selfishness. No, it's natural uh, shield of your own personality against being mad, against getting out of mind. So you feel that you're living. You will be living always. That's your consciousness, your personality, yourself, not yourself, and that which everything starts from all your thoughts, all your ideas, logics, and all the technologies in the end. But in the beginning, that was just some achieve some even not scientific, not scholar, not science at all at the time. But it started in the monasteries in a medieval era, and then it goes through the walls of the monasteries and become self-sufficient. And now we say, oh, there is a gap, big gap between religion, spirituality, and science. And I said, yes, there is a big gap if you consider that a gap. If you consider that different way, you can see easily there is no gap. There is just continuation of your own self, your own mind, your own logics, your own self, your own consciousness. It's like metaphysics going into physics and back. So that's interesting. In many models, even in the examples from the micro world, the electrons, positrons, the couples, and they collide. When they collide, they produce the third couple, the third particle. Sorry, the third particle, and it continues. It's getting all the time. So life unstoppable, and that gives us a chance to to reflect on what's going on. And we have in contemporary world we have a number of threats. So if you don't go my way, I would be. That's my duty to push a red button. You know what it
Yeah,
means?
yeah.
What does it mean? Red button. I just push because you push me. You threaten me, and I have to push it. No, there is different. There's many levels of making decision on that way, and definitely, if you want to destroy all the world, you have to be higher. Your power must be higher than the power of life itself. It would never happen. And when I was writing my novel Atomic Shepherd, and that's nickname of the former physicist turns priest, and his behavior. And there's important there's I mean challenge because he has a colleague, a complete total atheist, who said you you did wrong things. Don't get me follow you. Uh, and they go to Chernobyl. It's also an example of complete disaster in nuclear disaster. Everybody knows that, and that what happened there, it's an answer to some, hot over his heads, who maybe have a plan to put a red button. So see, it's what would happen when you get lost your mind. Uh, and but there are still two characters. One atheist, one is believer, and they appeared in the same place among the ruins of the extremely radioactive materials. And eventually, one of them left somewhere behind. And the priest, he seen that his friend, atheist, not with him, but the time is time has come to leave the area because it's extremely radioactive, and he was put on the edge of his personal decision whether he go to save his own life or he come back to save life his friend, and probably be both dramatically injured and maybe not being able to survive. And he's come back, and that's an example which provides all his colleagues and boss superiors and all around him, even the KGB agents, to change their minds, somehow change their minds, and they seen him in a different perspective. He's done what everybody should do, but it's your own personal decision: save your life or come back and probably lose your life, get your life lost, but do what you have to do towards those familiars, friends, or somebody. So it's an answer. That's why, I consider that it's impossible for AI to make such a decision. And I put it in my novel. In my novel, obviously that's a fiction, but in my novel, the AI decided human-like things to do. So sacrifice itself for sake of his patron, his human patron. So that's a matter of that's a challenge, a bigger challenge than technology and war threats or everything. A challenge to yourself. You put yourself. Yeah, and when you answer, at least from within yourself, at least not theoretically, but at least personally and sincerely answer, yes, I come back, and I better lose my life, but I save, if I can, life of the other. That's answer for the challenge. And if when the AI answers similar way, we will consider that it follows human like personal life consciousness. So I put the novel Atomic Shepherd challenged the some of the bloggers to open new blog called Science and Spirituality, and there are a number of things to think about and to try to answer to yourself at least. So I think it's interesting to discuss, and especially when you imagine and you get the characters and with specific characters involved, and they go, and you never know what will happen further. When you're writing your novel, you start, but you never know how you will end it. So
something I wanted to ask you, and it is about how you go from being a nuclear physicist to being a priest. When you were a child, were you raised? Did you go to church as a child? Was religion a big part of your family's life?
No, never.
Never.
No, no, because my dad, he was a communist, but no, just because he must be communist when you get higher position, higher post in a Soviet structured technology. So he and my mom as well, and they never go to the church, never. But my grandmom, she used to be a nun. She wanted to be a nun before the Great Revolution in Russia, before October 1917, and then after the revolution, she has to change her mind, and she became a teacher in school. But still, that is the only, like a spiritual line in my
So,
predecessors.
what's the timeline in your life then? So, you're a nuclear physicist. At what
Mhm.
point did you start to did you come across religion? Did you discover? Was there a moment where you discovered Jesus? What's the time? What was the events that happened? Because obviously you didn't wake. Well, it's possible you woke up one day and said, "I want to be a
Mhm.
priest." I had a friend. I had a friend who got ordained as a vicar in the Church of England, but
Mhm.
he wasn't religious originally, and then in his I think it was his early 20s, he started going to church. After a few years of going to church, he was just like, actually, I want to do more for the church. I want to be a bigger part of what's going on, and he became a vicar. And is that what happened to you? Was it like a gentle progress, or did you like suddenly, actually, I need to do something?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's very personal, of course. Yeah, and there was a process, obviously, but the decision came to me when I've taken the Bible first time in my life,
Yeah.
and I purchased that. I paid a lot of money for that. In the Soviet time, the Bible cost half or one third of your monthly salary
Wow.
on the black market. You only can get it on the black market. And I've paid a lot of money, and op- I've opened the Bible first time, and I eventually realized that that's the book I have to go through, not just like a normal reader from the beginning to the end, but all the time, all the time. And when you open it, you again and again and again see what is behind it, or you not consider this part of like Old Testament, like historical, or New Testament, like miracles committed by Christ or apostles, but you see yourself not among them, but your own reflection on what the idea of every passage, every part of the text, and when you discover what is the main idea, the core idea, which is challenging you, and you have to think. Then you see that you, I felt I feel myself happy that I found something new again and again. And since that time, when I've just opened that book first time in my life, then I open it every time with similar, thought that I have to get involved and read at least a part of it and understand what does it mean for myself nowadays, now and here, and what is the main message to myself at the moment. And eventually, when yeah, and then I decided I have to study a lot. I've done my 8 years course in the university, university, and then I was lecturing at the university, Orthodox theological university, and yeah, and then I was sent to the West, Ireland, Scotland, and I found that it's interesting to open your eyes to the other approach to the same faith, and it's really amazed me, and I still. I'm still taking part in some Zoom chat with the people in Scotland, in Ireland, and they always ask me what the difference between the Orthodoxy and Catholicism,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I said that's only within yourself. If you want to see the difference, you will see that. If you see the similarities and what is in common, you definitely find it out, definitely. And yeah, and I dedicate myself, and I being from the very beginning, like mathematical mind, I want to see logics everywhere.
Yeah.
What I reading, what I'm speaking about, what I'm writing, and I found a lot of logics in the Bible.
Yeah.
If you just want to find it, you definitely find logical and kind of
So
reasonable thing.
when was the what year was it when you started training to be a priest, and how did it work?
Yeah, in fact, I've got my first degree in physics, mathematics, physics, and I started my. There was a time of perestroika in the Soviet Union, and many things dramatically changed. And also there was a big challenge to all the scholars, all the people who want to dedicate themselves to science, to investigate, to do something important, positive, and they were just thrown out of the science, and they go to some companies, to the streets to trade to get some money to survive. And I saw that. And in my personal case, there was same challenge, and I've established a company with a program, some computer programs and some computers, then good cars from the West, and then I was pushed by mafia guys in Moscow. That was uh, 90s
Yeah.
when the system it was changing, and that the people who is mostly instead of doing right things and getting earning money on the trade or producing something, they earn money from each other
Yeah.
to just push themselves. Who is stronger get all the money from the rest. So that's mafia, guys. It's not even mafia in terms of Italy or New York or
Yeah.
America, because the Soviet system was collapsed, but it was a system. It
Yeah.
was a developed quite
Yeah. I remember my girlfriend saying to me, because she said when everything collapsed, she said like there was and she probably was explaining it very simply to me so that I would kind of at least grasp the basics of what she meant. But she said like they went down to some registry office with the evidence that this was their apartment because this is where they lived, and she said, and basically somebody stamped it, said, "Yep, that's yours. That now belongs to you." And then she was like, oh, okay, this is what happens then. She goes, whereas before, everything belonged to the state. She goes, you just turned up with the papers that you had when the state existed. And she said, and some official would stamp it to say, yep, that apartment now belongs to you. And she said, and that's in some, she said, I'm sure, and again, I might have misunderstood what she was telling me, but she was saying like there used to be this indoor market. And the man that run that whole indoor market and everything else like that, they were just like, well, yeah, okay, well, you know how to run that, so that's yours. The guy that used to run the car park, it's like, well, you know how to run the car park, so that's yours. And she said it's kind of the only thing they could do, because otherwise people would leave all of these positions that they need people to be in. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she said she goes,
Yeah.
but then people then sold it very quickly, or somebody would come along and say, you need to sell that to me because I want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We call it a kind of voucher, which distributed among the people, all the people, and then they eventually they sold it for some minimal price, and then eventually they were concentrated in one hands. And come new Russians who own whole country. And nowadays, those guys from the 90s, they came to power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. I would avoid to speak of political subject, but nevertheless, we have to recognize that that's guys from 90s, bad stuff, and they've done bad stuff at that time, and they going to do same thing in contemporary times, similar way. So that's why we have to be aware of it. And yeah, And also, yeah, that's a challenge. And when I start writing my novel, and the challenge with the nuclear weapons, and get it stronger and more effective, more destructive, etc., etc., and then there is nothing to prevent you from being superior to the not to the people around you, but the countries around you, even the entire world. So it's madness. You can't avoid it when you have no other ideas, other basic things, basic as a basis in your own heart, in your own consciousness, and then you go mad. Yeah, and you want to get other people involved into your own madness. So that's stupid 90s, and still we have different way. I've come from Moscow a few days ago, and I've seen that people change dramatically their points of view, their understanding of freedom, of creativity, of business. It has changed dramatically. So nobody knows what will happen in the foreseeable future. But still, we are able to do what we can, and I think that an sort of example of man who is not lost his mind, but instead he has discovered himself when he decided that better than go with the new projects and new weapons, new capacity, new effectiveness. He changed his mind and start thinking of himself and other people who want to live as well as he does. And yeah, and so we have different challenges.
I just want to finish off going back on something with the priesthood. Where did you train to be a priest? What's that process?
There is a seminary and academy in a spiritual academy, and at the time, their theological institute or university opened in Moscow. So I shouldn't go outside Moscow to study. I studied in Moscow. It was quite useful, and also my family and everything. You have to survive. You have to maintain yourself. My daughter, my wife, and my parents. So I continue work. I continue my working, and at the same time I studied theology. I've been involved into new life, and then when you study, you never know whether you will be ordained or not. So it's like the superiors in the church. They decide whether you are a good candidate for the priesthood, or maybe they have somebody else. Yeah.
Which
and
branch?
I was.
So I was going to ask, which branch of Christianity is it?
This Orthodox faith, Orthodox Christianity. It's Greek Orthodox Church. It's Byzantine.
Okay, so can you still be married then if you're a Greek Orthodox priest?
Yes, yeah.
That was my confusion, because I assumed you were talking about the Greek Orthodox Church, but I thought it was the same as the Catholic Church, and that the priests were not allowed to be married.
No, in contrary, the priest should be married in the Orthodox Church. Either Greek or Russian, or so you have to be married. So that's a big it's a big difference. And I think that the Catholic Church, I think maybe a new Pope will proceed with the decision for the priest to also get married. It's more more effective, more convenient. You get more people involved into the
Well, yeah, because I think
life
it was
of the
it's
church.
sort of 500, 600 AD or something, where the original Pope banned priests from being married. Up until then,
Yeah.
Catholic priests used to be married. They were married, like you said, encouraged it, and then a Pope decided
Uh-huh.
that they shouldn't be married.
Yeah,
I think so.
maybe.
I think that's how it happened. But
Yeah, we'll see.
no, because it's an interesting subject. I'm always fascinated when people find faith, and I like your explanations where you talk about the fact that when you look at the Bible logically and read it as a reflection of yourself, you can
Mhm.
see it differently. You see what it's trying to explain to you and what it means. Because I think one of the things I think all Christianity has a difficulty with at the moment is people keep looking at it as though it's not a reflection of them. They look at it
Yeah.
as if there's if this meant anything, it would say something to me. It would tell me something, and it's no that's not what it's about. I always explain to people that Christian saying "you reap what you sow" is about, it's more than you. It's about, it starts with you, but then if you then apply that to your neighbours and you apply that to your community, it's about the more you give, the stronger everybody gets, and because everybody is stronger, the more you receive, and it's that,
Yeah.
and it's but it's used in terms of the farming harvest, because over the time you had to adapt the language to the people that would be listening to the sermons.
Oh yeah, exactly. You have to speak same language, which you have to get them interested in what we're speaking about. And obviously, when I get my sermon in church, well, in Spain or in Scotland, in Ireland, so I'm trying to catch up somebody's eyes.
Yes.
When you get eyes to eyes, so you like a feedback, and then it starts new process. It's mutual reflection. So, and it will be more understood by people around you when you speak in terms of the others. So that's very important thing. And many theologians and priests, both Orthodox or Catholic priests or Protestant pastors, they know that you have to be, not you have to be, you want to be among them natural way. So when you speak similar language, when you're able to consider what they're speaking about, and logically, I would I mention that again. Logically, from one thing to another thing, then the third thing, and they understand why you go through that particular messages or expressions. When they understood, then you can speak from your more emotionally. But before that, emotions, because emotions somehow might prevent people from thinking logically, reasonably, by reason. But when you start speaking by reason, and then you get emotionally, expressed, or even exploded among them. So they realize that you're doing right things. So you're not doing on your own, from your own, but you're doing on the wider, range of feelings or emotions or thoughts. And then in my view, it's quite successful to speak with the people. And also the other thing that was said by Dostoevsky, main Russian writer. He said that the beauty will save the world. So
Yeah.
your understanding of beauty, this is beautiful. You can't say why, but you just see or listen to it, or speaking, and you understand that's beautiful. That's nice. I love that, and that also the core idea, what I want to reflect on. In that terms, in my opinion, orthodoxy reveal that beauty in more effective, more substantial way.
Yeah.
That's why I myself, in fact, I was in a position to make my own decision whether I would be Catholic or Protestant or Orthodox, and I would never fall in doubt. So I was born in the Orthodox country, and I see that's beautiful, and I'll become an Orthodox. So yeah, and then that's the way I mean, very natural, very true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, and eventually one started writing. I saw that I remember everything from my former scholarship, life as a scientist, and I remember the characters among me, and I was challenged. That's the thing. When you write a novel about the nuclear weapon, you definitely have to involve the characters like
Yeah.
KGB agents, KGB officers, and I've never been involved. I've never I never knew them in person, but some of my colleagues, classmates, and colleagues in the university, they became KGB officers in different areas, and having been having known them as the characters, I easily find out who and what the character of my main protagonist, not main, but it's my character in the novel, officer of KGB, and they're also different. They're all also, yeah, that's interesting to involve them and what they do, what they think when they challenged in Chernobyl disaster, when they see how the people just sacrifice themselves for sake of humanity or other human being, and they probably not all of them, but some of them would be able to change their mind. And in my novel, one of the KGB officer, not he changed his mind and come back to the priest and ask him, "Why are you doing so? What is it? What is it? Tell me. Just one question. Just tell me." It's a big thing, big achievement. I think
It is.
when you only you only ask a question, but that's the challenge.
Just
Yeah. What a
so it's just lastly, I'm conscious of time. Where can people find you in your book?
uh
Did you have a website?
I do have my website, georgezavershinsky.com. No capital letters. My name, my surname in one word, georgezavershinsky.com. At newly revealed, and I have a blog. I have a subscription with email and newsletter, and everybody is kindly and warmly invited to follow me, to share some, I mean, extraordinarily important things, important thoughts, contemporary thoughts of what is, relations or interaction between science and spirituality. Is there a gap, or there is no any gap, and just different reflection, different angles of different points of view of different personalities? And if it's so we can go with both in one personality, science and spirituality in one person. So that's why I'm talking about that, and because I've gone through that. It's like my own life, in my own life, and the life of my characters in the book called Atomic Shepherd. It's available on my website, or you can just go and write Atomic Shepherd, and you find it on many book shelves in the world. And then I hope that the next novel about AI and its challenging things, or we talk about with you, David, today, and I think it's also interesting, challenging, and we continue with many things challenging both religious characters, religious nature people, and people of science, or people considering themselves as an atheist, as it doesn't matter. But since you are a human being, you have your self, you have your consciousness, you have your life, and it begins from yourself and continues up to the others, up to the higher, achievements, and better life, and better and better and better. I hope and I believe that is true.
Yeah, that's perfect. And my last question, and it's a random question with no real meaning. I want you to imagine there's such a thing as a time machine. The time machine has to be a car. Where is the car going to take you? Why would you go there? And what will you be listening to on the radio?
If I get a car machine, I would go to the future, obviously, and a few decades, and I would listen to radio. Is still people able to listen to and reflect on what they listen to, and being involved into the conversation, rather than just only images like we're doing on our smartphones. But you speak and listen to other. That's very natural since very ancient time, when Adam and Eve, they talk to each other. For example, I want radio to not just survive, but get its very privileged place in the societies, in the countries, among the people of different professions, different points of view, different thoughts. And I also want the word to be written interesting way, challenging somehow, and challenging your thoughts, your answer, your own words to be spoken about what is written there, or what is said on the radio. So I really appreciate our chat today, David, and I'm very thankful to you.
No, I'm very grateful for you coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Take care. And there you go, that was George. And it was an interesting, the idea of AI, what AI is going to become. Will AI become religious? And if so, what ideology will it adopt? And just how fanatical would AI be? And it's, who knows? AI is going somewhere which probably isn't the best for everybody, but only time will tell. And as always, for my part at least, thank you everybody that watches, listens and supports. And wherever you're from, whatever you believe, please do take care and be blessed. Thank you.